The year is 298 AD, and two of the most powerful empires the ancient world has ever seen are about to collide on a single forgotten battlefield. One empire is built on iron discipline, Roman law, and the blood of 1,000 conquered nations stretching from Britain to the burning sands of Egypt. The other empire blazes with ancient Persian pride, a sacred fire religion, and an unstoppable hunger to reclaim everything Rome has stolen from them. Between these two colossal forces lies a cold, windswept highland deep in the mountains of Armenia, a place the world would come to know as Satala. A Roman general, freshly humiliated in the worst defeat of his career, is about to attempt one of the most audacious military reversals in all of ancient history. One battle, one brutal morning of fire, steel, and chaos, and a decision so bold it would bring the greatest empire in the East crashing to its knees. By the late 3rd century AD, the Roman Empire is bleeding from the inside, torn apart by decades of civil war, economic ruin, and relentless barbarian invasions on every border. City after city burns. Emperor after emperor is murdered. The once invincible Roman machine is grinding itself to pieces in a spiral of chaos and self-destruction. But one extraordinary man steps out of the darkness and pulls the entire empire back from the absolute edge of total and permanent collapse. His name is Diocletian, soldier, emperor, and the most ruthlessly brilliant administrator Rome has produced in more than 100 years of political madness. He rebuilds the army, restructures the economy, and divides the empire into 4 regions, each ruled by its own emperor in a bold system he calls the Tetrarchy. It is a radical experiment in shared imperial power, fragile, imperfect, and held together by personal loyalty and the constant threat of overwhelming military force. But far to the east, beyond the wide brown waters of the Euphrates River, a dangerous new power has risen from the ancient Persian heartland with terrifying ambition. The Sasanian Empire, proud heirs of Cyrus the Great, Darius and Xerxes, has been reborn, and it is hungry, fierce and burning for imperial glory. Their king is Narseh, a man who fought his own family for the throne, crushed his nephew underfoot, and seized the Persian crown through pure ruthless determination. Narseh believes the Zoroastrian gods themselves have chosen him to restore the ancient Persian Empire and drive every Roman soldier back across the western frontier forever. In 296 AD, he makes his move, sweeping through Roman-controlled Armenia with terrifying military speed, installing his own puppet king and openly humiliating the Roman Empire. Rome's answer to this Persian aggression arrives in the form of one man, Galerius, the Eastern Caesar, Diocletian's own son-in-law, and his most aggressive and fearless military commander. Galerius is not a refined politician sitting in a marble palace. He is a frontline warrior who has fought barbarians hand-to-hand along the bloody Danube frontier. He rides east with fire in his eyes, absolute confidence in his legions, and a dangerous underestimation of just how powerful and prepared the Persian army truly is. Without fully studying the terrain or properly measuring the size of Narseh's force, he charges headlong into the flat open plains of Mesopotamia like a man blind with rage. Near Carrhae, the same cursed, blood-soaked ground where Persian tactics had annihilated the Roman general Crassus and his entire army 3 centuries before, Narseh springs his trap. Persian heavy cavalry and swift horse archers crash through the Roman formations with overwhelming force, tearing the legions apart in a catastrophic defeat that echoes across the entire empire. Galerius retreats in total shame, and Diocletian, furious and humiliated before the watching world, forces him to walk on foot beside the imperial chariot in front of his own army. The message is brutal and very public. Rome has been beaten, its eastern frontier is dangerously exposed, and the most powerful Persian king in generations is still advancing. But humiliation does not break Galerius. It strips away every trace of arrogance and transforms him into something far colder, sharper, and more dangerous than he has ever been. He spends the long winter months rebuilding his forces, studying every detail of his catastrophic defeat, and pulling the finest veteran legions down from the brutal Danube frontier campaigns. He recruits Armenian highland fighters, warriors who have grown up in these mountains and know every hidden pass, frozen ridge, narrow gorge, and secret path through the deadly terrain. And then he makes the single most important strategic decision of his entire military career. He completely abandons the open plains and chooses the mountains as his battlefield. Instead of charging south through Mesopotamia, where Persian cavalry is unstoppable and devastating, he will drive north into the rugged Armenian highlands where Roman infantry holds every possible advantage. It is a masterstroke of patient, calculated strategic thinking, trading raw aggression for terrain control and personal pride for the cold, quiet precision of a man who will not fail twice. Meanwhile, Narseh receives fragmented intelligence reports of Roman movements, but cannot pinpoint the direction of the coming attack. So he stretches his massive army dangerously thin across multiple routes. Spring arrives slowly in the Armenian highlands. The mountain snow begins melting off the high peaks. Fast, cold rivers run full. The air carries the sharp scent of pine and iron. And somewhere deep in the shadows of those ancient mountain passes, moving fast and silent like hunters tracking their prey, the Roman army of Galerius is closing in. Satala, a Roman fortress city perched high in the mountains of eastern Anatolia, commanding the surrounding valleys and ridgelines with cold, unblinking strategic perfection. Through careful and patient reconnaissance, with some ancient sources even claiming Galerius personally disguised himself and crept into the Persian camp, he locates the main enemy force. Narseh has set up his grand royal camp in a wide valley near Satala, his enormous army spread comfortably across the lowland with the relaxed confidence of a man who thinks he controls this entire war. He has no idea that Roman eyes are watching him from the mountains above, counting his tents, studying his formations, and mapping every weakness in his sprawling, overconfident camp. Galerius divides his force into two columns. One will strike the Persian front directly as a feint, fixing Narseh's attention and forcing him to commit his reserves to the wrong direction. The second and larger column will sweep silently around through the mountain passes, descending from the high ground at full speed onto the Persian flank from a direction no one is defending. Dawn breaks cold, pale and grey over the Armenian highlands. Frost covers the ground. Breath hangs in the freezing air. Thousands of Roman soldiers stand absolutely silent, waiting for the signal. The Roman war horns scream across the valley. The frontal column crashes into the outer Persian defensive line in a thunderous collision of locked shields, screaming men, and flashing iron blades. The Persians react exactly as Galerius calculated. Commanders scramble, cavalry rushes to the threatened front, and Narseh himself begins repositioning his forces to meet the Roman assault head-on. And then the mountain erupts. The flanking Roman column descends from the high ground like an avalanche, screaming, shields locked, javelins filling the sky before the first wave strikes. The surprise is absolute and total. The Persian camp explodes into pure chaos. Men scrambling for weapons in the dark, horses screaming and breaking free, officers shouting orders nobody can hear. The Persian military machine, built for devastating open-field cavalry charges across flat ground, cannot adapt fast enough to a two-sided attack in broken, narrow, mountainous terrain. Where Persian cavalry tries to wheel and respond, walls of Roman shields lock together and hold firm. Where gaps tear open in the Persian line, Roman soldiers pour through without mercy. The battle is brutal, deafening, and absolute. The clash of 10,000 iron blades, the thunder of hooves on frozen ground, the screams of dying men echoing off the mountain walls. And then the Romans achieve something so extraordinary, so devastating, that it goes far beyond a simple military victory on an Armenian battlefield on a cold spring morning. They breach the Persian royal camp itself, capturing not just gold, weapons and war elephants, but the wives of Narseh, his sisters, his children and his entire royal household. In a single terrible hour, the most powerful king in the entire Eastern world has lost not just a battle, he has lost everything he holds most sacred and dear. Narseh fights desperately to hold his collapsing lines together, but his army is breaking apart on both sides simultaneously, fragmenting under the relentless Roman pressure from front and flank. The great Persian army, the same force that had humiliated Rome and sent Galerius running in shame just 1 year before, shatters completely and flees northward in total disorder. Narseh himself escapes with his life, but barely, riding hard through the mountains with Roman cavalry close behind, leaving his treasury, his family, and his honor scattered across the battlefield. Narseh sends envoys to negotiate peace almost immediately, because he has nothing left to fight with, nothing left to bargain with, and no choice but to accept Roman terms completely. The Treaty of Nisibis, signed in 299 AD, is one of the most sweeping and decisive diplomatic victories in the entire 400-year history of the Roman Empire in the East. Persia surrenders 5 provinces beyond the Tigris River, a massive territorial expansion that pushes the Roman frontier deeper into Persian territory than it has been in living memory. Armenia is formally returned to Roman influence. The critical trading city of Nisibis is designated the only legal commercial crossing point between the two empires, giving Rome enormous economic control. In a gesture of both genuine grace and brilliant political calculation, Diocletian returns Narseh's captured family, his wives, sisters and children, completely unharmed and treated with full royal dignity. The message radiates across the ancient world with absolute clarity. Rome is powerful enough, confident enough and secure enough to show mercy to a defeated enemy king. Narseh dies within a few years, his reign forever defined by the catastrophe at Satala. His successors will spend the next 4 decades desperately trying to undo what was lost. The Battle of Satala is not a name that echoes through popular history the way Thermopylae or Cannae does, but its consequences run deep, quiet, and lasting across centuries. Without this victory, Rome's eastern provinces remain permanently exposed. The Tetrarchy experiment collapses under Persian pressure, and the great trade routes of the ancient world fall under enemy control. But Galerius changed everything, proving that a commander who suffers humiliating defeat can study, adapt, and return with a plan so precise it dismantles an empire in a single morning. He proved that terrain is a weapon, that patience is a force multiplier, and that the boldest, most unexpected move on the battlefield is almost always the most devastatingly effective one. The 40 years of relative Eastern peace that followed this victory allowed Diocletian to complete his reforms, stabilize the empire, and buy Rome precious decades against the rising tide of history. Today, the ancient site of Satala rests quietly in the windswept hills of northeastern Turkey, unvisited, largely unknown, and slowly disappearing beneath centuries of silence and forgotten memory. But beneath that earth and silence lie the echoes of a frozen morning when Roman soldiers descended from the mountains like thunder and reminded the world exactly what Rome was made of. Empires are not truly built in their moments of easy triumph. They are forged in the furnace of humiliation by those rare men stubborn and brilliant enough to walk back into the fire.